Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to this 15-part series on decision of self. Let me get the music down. As soon as I find it. Hope everybody's doing well. We had some things happen here at the ranch last night. A little interesting, so I'm just gathering myself this morning. I'll fill y'all in on that at some other time. So good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Decision of self. That's the topic that we're talking about today, and today is the initial run at it. Right, session one. This is about identity, understanding, and where are my notes? There they are. So, I want you to just take a breath for a second. I want you to take a moment to become aware of, and I want you to just take a look at something on you. Take a look at your hand, just for giggles. Take a look at your hand. Now, this isn't about noticing your hand. This isn't about seeing your hand. This isn't about, everybody in the movie The Secret, they talk about, if you look at the back of your hand, do you actually know what's on the back of your hand? Are there any cuts there, little bumps, whatever? I want you to look at your hand in a different way. I want you to look at yourself in a different way right now. Take a look at your hand. That hand is you, right? It's part of you. Is your hand successful? Does your hand struggle? What is the identity you would give that hand? How much of that hand is you? What does the hand do on its own? Anything? If that hand is you, then is that hand successful or unsuccessful? I know it may seem a little odd, but I promise you, odd is what you need to break out, to break free, to break through. So, are you becoming aware of setting your intention? Because that's what all of this is going to be about. The decision of self, the decision of your own identity, is about how you shape your decisions, how you create your habits. Right? You know how to write, correct? You know how to print or do cursive. Drop a C in the chat if you do cursive. Right? If you do cursive, drop a C in the chat, because Michelle wrote in cursive the other day, and I hadn't read her writing in a while. I recognized it, but it took me a little bit to read it because I print. So if you write in cursive, write with your other hand. You want to shape a habit. You want to create a new identity. You want to go create 100,000, $500,000, $5 million in income. Write with your other hand. That's where you're at right now. Follow me on this. Listen carefully. You know how to write. You know the language you're writing in. You understand how to put a pen to paper and create notes, to create words. What if you took your good hand and needed to write in a new language? That's where you're at today. You have a hand that writes, your dominant hand, left hand, right hand. You have a hand that writes well, writes so you could understand it. Now you are required to write in a new language, and that new language is self. That new language is you taking care of you. That new language is you setting down new rules, and you are going to need to learn a new language, and it's the language of self. Well, what language am I speaking now? If I'm not speaking self now, what language am I speaking? The language that is currently being spoken is called addiction to approval. Now, over the course of 20 years, a good friend of mine, doing studies and research with some of the top sales organizations in the world, pharmaceutical sales, those are big sales organizations. We're not going to get into whether they should be or shouldn't be. The point is that they are the best of the best when it comes to sales. Pharmaceutical, medical equipment, they're selling high dollar assets. They did research with them, and they asked them a series of 9 questions. And the first question asked prior to the series of 9 questions was, how many of you are influenced by others? And the number across about 20,000 salespeople, the initial figure that admitted that they were influenced in their actions by others was about 30%. 70% said, not a chance. Not a chance at all. I make my decisions. I understand my decisions. I know what I'm doing. I'm not influenced by others. When asked a series of 9 questions, simply 9 questions, that number went from 30% to 99.2%. Literally 100%. We're dependent upon the opinions of others. Now, there's no way you'll get down to 0% it being influenced by others. If you are, literally there is a brain pattern that exists that is not influenced by others, not emotionally charged by the opinion or the appearance or the conversation with others, and that's a schizophrenic brain. So I hope you are influenced by others. My goal is, over the course of this series, is to get you from the 99.9, 99.2% influenced by others, addicted to the approval of others, to get it down into the maybe half. Half would be world class, 50% of the time. Right? This is where it's critical to understand that water doesn't boil at 211, it boils at 212. Right now, you might be at 211 of addiction to approval, of not taking care of you in the way that would serve you best, not moving yourself forward. And this isn't about what happened with you last week, last year. This is stuff that got wired into you as a child. Now, we're not going through a psychological remake. We are going to become aware of some certain things that allow you to. Here's the question for you. Your current operating system, your OS, your current operating system is based upon how you create friends, how you work for rewards, and how you receive awards. How do you receive rewards in your life? How do you make friends in your life? And how do you continue to grow those relationships? Those are the 3 things that are going to drive you in your goal achieving promises for 2025. So I want you to draw a line, a vertical line, not a big one, maybe an inch big, a vertical line on left of center of your sheet of paper. And I want you to draw a line on the right of center of your page. And what I want you to look at is that the left line and the right line, there's a space between those. The left line is where you currently are, and the right line is where you want to get to. We all know what the middle is. The middle is the gap. The middle is that thing of what you need to identify. So today, we're going to identify some of those things in the gap. Now, please be aware. One of the ways that I train, one of the ways that I coach, one of the ways that I mentor, and those are three wildly different processes. The ultimate goal, the underlying result of what I do, how I do it, and the results I want from it is so that you can become aware that what you are going through is exactly what your audience is going to go through. See, the best person, you may want to write this down, the best person I can help, meaning you, the best person you can help, the best person you can help is the person you just were. So every time you gain awareness, every time you gain knowledge, every time you gain skills, the best people you could teach is the version of you that just was. So the line on the left is the version you just were. Even in this dialogue, even in this conversation we're having right now, more of a monologue, still a dialogue. I'm speaking, you're hearing, and you're creating new patterns in your mind. You're hearing new methodologies. Some of it you're saying, oh, I've heard this before. I'm going to encourage you that if you put down in the gap, heard this before, that's part of your gap. Listen, there's only 26 letters in the alphabet. I didn't make them. You didn't make them. Everything we got's borrowed. What is different, and you may want to write this word down, is syntax. Is the syntax with which we use the words that have gotten us here. Syntax is the way you put things in order. Maybe you've heard it explained before by somebody giving you a recipe. If you wanted to make a chocolate cake, there's a recipe. You need these ingredients. You need 4 eggs. You need flour. You need chocolate. You need sugar. You need all of these things. And then you combine those ingredients in a certain way. You just don't throw the whole egg in the bucket, in the jar, in the bowl that you're mixing it in. You crack the egg. There's a syntax. There's an order that performs. This is what Wallace D. Wattles talks about in the book Science of Getting Rich. It is not about doing certain things. It is about doing things in a certain way. You may want to write that down, because you are going to right now, there's something that you're going to do, and it's going to hit you. It's kind of like Napoleon Hill says in the book, Think and Grow Rich. The secret to success has been revealed on every page in this book. The author didn't come out and blatantly say, this is the secret on each page. They found out it's better when the student is seeking it and it appears, because at that moment, it really becomes yours. So somewhere on your paper, write, I'm looking for my secret. I do a training. It was a 7-week training called Finding Your Secret Sauce. You're looking for your secret sauce. That's your identity. Your identity that makes you unique is as unique as your fingerprint. It's called your secret sauce. So over the course of this series of conversations, you are going to find your secret sauce. So in the gap, right? In the gap inside there, maybe write secret sauce. That's what's keeping you from getting to that line on the right. Is that making sense? New beliefs. You may want to write down new beliefs in the gap. You might want to write down some new habits. So what would be a new habit? You know, listen, there's nothing I can teach you, or there's nothing you really need to know to get to the next level. It's discipline. Discipline is the ability, Jim Rohn said it, a lot of people have said it. Jim Rohn said it best. Discipline is the ability to take action on your decision long after the emotion of making the decision has left you. It's drinking your water every day. and on day 3 doing it. We've got it coming up, right? January 1st, all of the gyms are starting to get their memberships. I don't think that's changed. I don't think humanity has changed in the last year. So last year, everybody signed up and they went to the gym, and they go to the gym and they sign up for the gym and they never show up at the gym, right? January is a very good month. First quarter of the year for fitness clubs is a very good year, very good part of the year income wise. So what's the new habit of decision making? There's something that's very important to understand. The decision, the identity, what's the identity difference, do you think right now, between you and your future self? What do you say different about your future self? What would people say different about your future self? I know, Beamish. It's okay, buddy. What would you say different about your future self? What new habits would you want your future self to have? Write them down. What would be the mindset of your successful 2025? What you'll find is that there's nothing cataclysmic that you're going to write down. You are aware of it. The challenge is we haven't activated our reticular formation system. We've activated our reticular activating system. The activation of the reticular, the RAS, is when you send the message down into the subconscious, into the unconscious, and what bubbles back up are new habits, new traits, new understandings, new skills, new abilities, and that becomes the new version of you. In order for that to happen, we have to be okay with shifting. We have to be okay with transformation. What's the thing that happens on everybody's birthday? We celebrate a birthday. You got another year older. You become more aware of being a little bit older, acting a little bit differently. What's the first thing that when you were little, or maybe there's somebody in your life that's a niece, a nephew, a child, a grandchild, and on their 5th birthday, do you say, do you feel any older? They're like, no. I don't feel any older when it's the day of my birthday. Now, there's days that I feel really old if I'm working on the ranch here now and I'm really exerting myself. Sometimes I feel older than I am. It's all about state of mind. So when you look at this new identity, what does your future self sound like? Take a look at your hand again. Imagine that's the hand of your future self. What do you hear differently when you look at that hand? Well, this is silly. Why am I looking at my hand? Give me the skills. Give me the strategies. There's not a single strategy that will work for you if you're not in the correct state. So we're going to work on the progression of moving you into a state that will reveal your strategy. All too often, the current identity of the majority of people that are out there, we work in the world of network marketing, small business, entrepreneurship, storytelling, authors, coaches, trainers. We all need to encompass people to grow our business. We need customers. And in order for us to have customers, we have to provide a value, a service for them that they will pay us for. All right? Jim Rohn said, if you want to become rich, become valuable to valuable people. How do you become valuable to valuable people if you are lacking in value for yourself? So what is the new identity of your future self? You look at that hand. Is that part of a value-giving organism? The reason I want you to just start asking these different questions is there's something going on in your brain right now, and it's called neuroplasticity, right? The term's been around for 80 years. It's become popular the more we understand the brain. And in understanding the brain, we understand neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is the ability of the brain to create a set of new neural networks. Right? If I said a purple elephant with blue dots, now you may or may not instantly draw an image of that. What your brain is required to do is to pull up a picture of an elephant, color it purple, and then put blue dots on it. There's a good chance that where the dots exist on you, on your elephant, is different than where they exist on my elephant, because that is a form of creation. This idea that you're going to go create this new self, this new identity, this future success of you in 2025 is going to require you to become very good at visualization, which then triggers neuroplasticity. As a certified brain trainer from the Amen Institute, as a self-talk trainer for the last 20 years, working with Dr. Shad Helmstetter, would some consider the father of self-talk. I'm on the faculty of the Self-Talk Institute. When you begin new self-talk, you have an audience in your mind that is listening. It's called your old story. And as you sit down and you begin to identify what's in that gap, how many of you, maybe, just for giggles, how many of you have felt some resistance as you're writing in the gap? Drop an R in the chat. Let me pop up the chat over here so that I can see it. How many of you have felt some resistance as you're writing in the gap? Let me ask you, follow me on this. I'm seeing some R's pop up. Was it harder for your pen to write those, or was it harder for you to write those? Where's the resistance? The resistance is inside of you. And when you make the decision of self, you are going to start to work in your favor. Write that down on your sheet of paper somewhere. Write in my favor. What you'll find is over the course of this series, I'm going to do my very best to avoid affirmations. Wait, what? Yeah. Now, if you're in attendance, if you're watching this recording, if you're live here at the event, you're better than the average bear as it relates to you working on your mind. The reason that I want to avoid the I am statements is because when you truly understand how powerful they are, that they need to wind up at a tipping point. I am statements are wildly powerful. We all know them. I am healthy and happy in this. I am this. I am getting better every day. On or before this day. There's a whole way of writing an affirmation. Dr. Noah St. John talks about afformations. He actually created the word. It's a new word in the dictionary, afformations. I want to avoid either of those. And here's why. The reason that for this conversation, I'll do my best to avoid affirmations or saying an affirmation or asking you to write down an affirmation is simply because there's too many stories around an affirmation. Soon as we start the I am, I want you to just take a feel of your body. Take a body scan. Just look at your energy in your body. Just feel it, notice it, become aware of it. And I just want you to say, I am. That's all. That nothing else, not anything to do with any goal setting. Just say, I am. Do you feel a shift in your body? Is there a level of excitement? Is there a level of fear? Is there a shift at all? Is there a pause in your soul, waiting for the thing that you are? Is there conflict? And this is the tool that we're told to use to create our success, to create our future self, to create this person, this identity, this who we are, how we are, when we are, what we are. And we say just 2 words, I am, and there's a vibration that flows through us. So over the course of this series, we're going to deal in the big buckets. So if you want to be wealthy, if you want to create additional income, simply write down this word. Write down wealthy. Write down income. Maybe put that in the gap. Wealthy, income. Don't add you to it. Now, I want you to think about what is wealthy. How does your future self think of wealthy? Because there's no needing to remind the future self you're wealthy. It already is, isn't it? Do you see where the gap starts to come in? Is that this idea of who we are right now requires us to have faith. I'd put that word in the gap. And if you want, you can make the gap bigger so you can add all of these things in there. How much faith did your future self have? How much courage did your future self use? This is the process we're walking through, is what Wayne Dyer would say in his phrase. What's his famous phrase? Change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. If the book Outwitting the Devil that Napoleon Hill wrote and didn't get published till 50 years, 60 years after his death, if the book Outwitting the Devil, in the conversation with the devil, he says, I'm half of every atom. We need the negative in order to have the positive. The challenge is that when we go and say the positive, we don't fall in love with the negative. We want to resist it. We want to push it away. I want you to think of your future self again. Have they experienced any struggle? Have they experienced any struggle even bigger than the struggles you've already gone through in life? That makes sense? Do you think there's some bigger struggles on the way? How did your future self get through them? Courage, faith, confidence, action. What words would you feel are necessary without the I am statement? Just what words do you feel are necessary for your future self? Which words would they look back and say, your future self, the 2025, the December 2025 version of you is looking at you right now, is having a conversation with the 2024 version. And they're saying, here's the bucket of things that you will want to focus on. Here's the things that we did focus on. What would be some of those words? What did you already have enough of that you kept trying to get better at that you didn't need any more of? You needed to focus on some other thing. And the reason we're starting here, the reason we're starting with this conversation, the reason we're starting with this dialogue is because if we start to put some strategies in place tomorrow, if we start to discuss self-talk and brain talk and NEST, neuroenergetic self-sculpting, and we look at some pseudopsychogenesis, death of old, birth of new, we have to have the arrow shot out into the future. We have to have a place we want to wind up in. We may not know the city we want to wind up in, but if you're in New York and your goal is to get to Washington State, you better know it's Washington State and not Washington, D.C., because you will be busy, you will be active, you will have results. And much like Stephen Covey said in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he said, too many people have their ladder up against the wrong wall. And you climb the ladder, climb the ladder, climb the ladder, and only until you get to the top do you realize you had it laid up against the wrong wall. You've said you wanted to be rich before. It was up against the wrong wall. You've said you wanted to be healthy before. The ladder was up against the wrong wall. I don't know anybody who sets a goal and isn't busy. Let me say that again. I don't know anyone who has a goal and is not busy. They're just not producing the results they want. They're afraid of looking at the lessons. There is no failure. There's only ability to know either I want to do more of that or I want to do less of that. So maybe write down results. Do you think your future self is going to be absent of learning results? How is it that your future self is going to walk through, step through, have a conversation about? How is it that your future self is going to move through the process of results, the process of activities and actions? So another part, what's going to be the self-talk? Now, I've kind of taken self-talk and put it on steroids through the conversation of brain talk. What is going to be the self-talk of your future self? When you wake up in the morning, what's the first thing you're going to say to yourself? When you become aware that you are back in the conscious state, when you come out of the unconscious and you're in that in-between land, what's going to be your mantra? What's going to be your intentional dialogue that you have with yourself? How much time is your future self going to meditate? And it's not because you want time or have time. Sean Aker, the author of The Happiness Factor, right? Went to Harvard, teaches at Harvard, did studies at Harvard, and found out that people were happy and then they got the money. The money didn't make them any happier. So it's state, story, strategy. What is the state of your future self when they go to bed? Glad you did, wish you had. What's the benchmarks your future self is going to use to find out, when I put my head on my pillow, did I get it done? So we've all been through the practice. We're not going to do that. You can do it on your own time if you choose. But we've all been through the practice of Well, give me the day of your future self. That's an all-day course. That's an all-day session. Because you could take a day and literally put yourself in the state of your future self. What would it be like? Let's just ask yourself, how would you wake up? Not where would you wake up? You're going to wake up in a place that's beautiful and yours, and maybe you won't get a chance to move in the next year. Maybe you will. But the place that you're going to wake up is going to always be the same. You're going to wake up on a pillow, God willing, possibly under some covers, God willing, if it's cool or comfortable and you like to sleep under the covers. How will you wake up? What's the first thing you will say to yourself? If I were to ask you to guesstimate, how long ago was it? And it maybe was just minutes ago. Maybe it was hours ago. Maybe it was days ago. Maybe it was weeks ago. Maybe you can't remember. When's the last time you said, I love me? Your future self. You arrive at your future self with all of the rewards and all of the income and all of the things that you have and all of the things that you want. You've achieved every goal that you've ever wanted, and some you didn't even know were on your list. How would you feel about you? So understanding that all of this takes thought. We have on average 60, 70,000 thoughts a day. Become aware of this, become consciously aware of this, become intimately aware of this formula. 70,000 thoughts a day. 80% are repetitive. Now, I'm glad there's some repetitive thoughts that happen in the mammalian brain, right? That part right down there at the brainstem, the very first part. I'm glad that I have a repeating thought of my heart beating. I'm glad I have a repeating heart of myself breathing. I'm glad I don't have to be consciously aware of that. So there's a lot of repetitive thoughts that they're okay to be repeated. There's a whole bunch that have nothing to do with the system of my body. They have to do with, you look at yourself in the mirror. I'm fat. I'm not enough. You look at your bank account. I'm poor. There's a lot of thoughts. They say the average person, you guys are all probably above average by far. The average person spends about 60% of their day focused on finances. What? Yeah, about 60. They talk about things. The price of this, the cost of that. I don't have enough this. If I could only go on vacation. About 60% of their dialogue is finance-based in some form or fashion. That's a lot talking about money. Why aren't more people rich? If law of attraction works the way it works, why aren't more people rich if they spend 60% of their time talking about finances? Because it's not the positive kind of dialogue. So I want you to become aware that of this 80% of the repetitive thoughts, 20% are the heartbeat and the breathing and the digestion and the blinking, right? And all of that stuff. The other 80% are usually thoughts not in our favor. Now, this isn't me making up some statistic to say why you want to really understand the Nest program or want to get mentoring that you've never had before. It's because you need to understand the battle you're up against. The battle you're up against is that 80% of the 70,000 thoughts you're going to have are repetitive. 80% of those are not in your favor. So it is literally a math problem. And if you are going to do, if you choose to go forward with the formula of addition, you're going to struggle. You are going to be in pain. It needs to be multiplication. Price Pritchett in his book, U Squared, talks about the quantum leap. And if you are going to have the world, your best year ever, that is, let me ask you this. Your best year ever. In the chat, type this. Just listen to the question first and then type it out. Being realistic, being aggressive, being who you are, the amount of income that you're about to go earn, is it 2x your best year ever? Is it 3x? The number that you are shooting for, how many times more is it than your best year ever? And listen, if it's a 0.5, you've had great years, you did $1 million, but you're just struggling right now and you want to get to $500,000, it's a 0.5x. I want you to become aware of it. Type it in the chat. What is your X factor for year 2025? Kind of interesting, isn't it? So it's 20x. There's going to have to be some serious 20x shifts in belief. It's okay. I'm not saying it's outside the box. What I am saying is that statistically, listen carefully, so that you understand where you're about to go. Statistically, the brain, which is where everything you're about to go do runs through, the brain can usually adapt to about 3 times, 3x. The brain can do about 3x.
Let's make it 5x then.
No, it's okay. No, I'm okay. Don't shortfall. What I'm saying is that if you understand the math that you currently have, we have to use a new formula. That's all. We have to use a new math formula, and it can't be addition. If you're going to go 5x, 10x, 15x, 20x, it's going to have to be multiplication. So multiplication gets you quantum leaps. So in the gap, right, quantum leap. It's not impossible by any stretch of the imagination. Here's why, because I can hold, listen carefully, I can hold leverage over you, right? For those of you that aren't familiar, or those of you that are familiar, I could do the 90-second exercise with you, and I can get you to do 20x, 30x, 50x. The shift is, in this understanding, is that you're going to rapidly step into a new identity. And what happens if you step into a new identity? Just become aware. This is the introductory phase. And I'm setting you up for success, not for struggle. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but if we can take away the struggle, then the efforts seem valuable. That makes sense? So if you show up and you have to, and you're required, based upon the numbers you're putting up, that you want to 5x, 50x, whatever the number is, the bigger the X, the bigger the shift in identity. The bigger the X, the more you have to control you. The bigger the X, the more you have to take responsibility for you in everything. What if you got better every hour? Every hour. Not every day, not every week. What if you got better every hour? Wouldn't it make sense then that if you got better every hour, you could become wildly successful in 30 days, 60 days? Couldn't you? Do you see where if you got better every hour, this is the decision of self. So I'm going to ask you today, what's one powerful decision you could make today? What's one powerful decision you could make today that you could make right now? A powerful decision that's within your abilities, within your skill set, within your capability, within your capacity. It is a powerful decision that you are deciding, right? Decision, cut off, incision, cut in, decision, cut off. What is a powerful cut off that you will no longer stand for? That you can decide right now. Make one power, not a little decision, a big, powerful decision. What is it? What's a powerful decision you're going to make? I'd encourage you, say it out loud. I'd encourage you, write it down. I'd encourage you, type it in the chat. I'd encourage you to become accountable. One big decision today. What's one activity, action step, process, commitment? I made a decision probably 3 years ago now, maybe 3 years ago. When Mark, a gentleman who used to be on the calls from Costa Rica, he's the reason that we say pura vida, is that he wants to, he said to me one day, he said, just stop drinking Cokes. I used to drink a lot of Diet Cokes. Not a lot to some, but I would drink 2 or 3 a day. Some days none, but most days I had some. And he said, that's killing you. I said, yeah, I know. He said, stop. And it was something in his voice. I made that decision. I've not had one since. Oh, I've had maybe a soft drink or two and a Cuba Libre. But it wasn't, there was no conscious decision to buy soft drinks, to buy soda pop, for those of you up north, to buy Coca-Colas. Just stopped. My body didn't go through withdrawal. It didn't have all of this stuff because I made a decision. And it's funny what happens in your body when you make the decision. And when you make that decision, the neurochemicals, the neuroplasticity, all of the things, all of the skills, the talents, the abilities you need seem to bubble to the surface because you are wildly committed to that decision. So how's that feel? Do you realize that if you make a decision, how many of you have made a decision? I'm looking at here, create a schedule with a line. Yeah. So the key is that if you write these things down, if you put these things in play, today was a good day for you, wasn't it? Now, there's no words that can teach, no words that can train. I'm a good guide. I'm the definition of a mentor. I help you do things you didn't know you could do. That's the definition of a mentor. Help you do things, see things that you couldn't see and things you couldn't do. You didn't know you could do. You knew you could do these things, but you've now made a commitment. And here's the thing. How will you feel at the end of the day if you keep your commitment? So this is where the decision of self starts. You've got to ask yourself, I've decided one small thing. It's a big thing, but it's a small step in all of the steps you have to take, right? This is a decision. And when you decide, when you realize that you just made a decision to hold yourself true, to hold yourself clear, to hold yourself accountable, there's nobody watching. You could write down anything. In Spanish, there's a phrase, la papel tiene guante. I don't know even if I'm saying it right, but what it translates to in English, I hope that wasn't something bad. What it translates to in English is the paper can hold anything. Let that settle in for just a second. I don't know about you, but I've got notes and I've got journals and I've got books. The paper can hold anything. Does that paper hold a rule or does it hold a wish? Does it hold a rule or does it hold a wish? Think about that. Are you setting up rules for your success? Because that's what you're going to need. Not some guidelines, not some benchmarks. You're going to need some rules. And you have to know the game you're playing. There are no rules if you don't know the game you're playing. And you can't play the game if you don't know the rules. How many of you have ever, somebody said, well, let's play cards. And they said, we're going to play squids or sevens. The hell is squids or, I don't even know. That's not a game. I just made that up. So you're going, I never heard of that. What's the first thing you ask? If you're going to type it in the chat or say it out loud, what's the first thing you ask if somebody says, let's play a card game and you like cards? There's 52 decks, 52 cards in a deck, and you play with the 50 cards. Yeah. How's it work? You are now going to play a game called Success, called the Silky Success, called the Heather Success, called the Diane Success, called the AJ Success. You have to be very careful because you have played this game before, but you never asked, what are the rules? You use somebody else's rules for your game. It don't work that way. So there's today's conversation. We got a minute or two for what'd you learn, what'd you like? We'll do if you've got questions, write them down. We'll do probably every third day, we'll do a Q&A session for you to get your questions answered. I'm sure if you sit quietly with yourself, the solution will come to you. But if you'd like some fine tuning on it, we can definitely do that. So about every third day, we'll have a Q&A. So what'd you learn? What'd you like? What's your takeaway? What's your takeaway from this morning?
Good morning, Sean.
Good morning, Silky.
So my biggest takeaway is that I have a lot of work to do in my brain to get to where I need to be next year.
So understanding that you have a lot of work, they asked, there's a story I tell. Imagine if they asked Michelangelo, right? He made the statue David. He chipped David out of the marble. They said, Michelangelo, how did you make the statue David? And my translation is that he would say, the statue David was easy. I chippy away everything not David. So become aware, Silky, that the greatness that you're seeking already exists inside of you. It's not that you maybe have a lot of work to do in your brain. You have a lot of work to chipping away the things that aren't the best version of you. You're already the best version of you. If not, you couldn't be here. If not, you wouldn't have wants, desires, wishes. So if we can shift the way that rather than you have a lot of work to do, what if you said, I get to find the best version of me?
I like that. I'm going to write that.
That feels better, doesn't it?
Yes, it feels like uplifting, like
So
yes.
So you're not doing the German will have to work harder. I have to be in pain to win. No,
I don't like being in pain.
No, imagine if the only thing you're working for is freedom. And so you get to ask. And so the work is awareness. And if you become aware of what I'm about to go do, does this give me freedom or is this a distraction? And that's going to have to be that's a lot of conversation in the beginning until you start chipping away all this stuff that doesn't work. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you. I love you. Thank you, Sean.
I love you too. Thank you. Who else? Thoughts, comments, questions, takeaways?
I love that, Silky. And your answer, Sean, it really brings it home. It's the awareness. So
and because here, I promise you, women, ladies, I've never been a woman. I've been accused of it, but I've never been a woman. But here's the thing I can pretty much guarantee based upon my 50 years of experience. you will beat the living crap out of yourself without even knowing it. So when you decide that you're going for this goal, the first thing is going to happen is imagine the woman at the party going, oh, there's Sweeney. Oh my God, she thinks she's so good. Oh my God, I can't believe it. What is she doing here? She doesn't even belong here. And that's all happening at an unconscious level. Women can be, listen, the reason I know women can be a little bit vicious is I used to run restaurants. I used to own restaurants, and waitresses, woof, they are an amazing crew. So all I'm saying is that be aware that the second you made this decision to go 5x, 10x, 50x, the old story is gearing up for the fight. And you have to fall in love with it. So learn this phrase. Ooh, I love that. Why would I want to love me beating myself up? Because you haven't loved it in the past. And the second you love it, it disappears. So, thank you, Diane. Mr. Ben Baskin, hand up.
Yes, sir. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Here's the thing that kind of gets me is since I've been on the calls with you, I've doubled my income twice. Right? And yet the same freaking old crap builds up like you don't deserve this job, or you know what I mean, those same old things. It's like,
Yep.
But I have the mindset and I get in the flow to be able to create and double and double.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know in the right flow you can times 1,000. So and seeing that and witnessing that, like how does it keep going back to the old story? You know what I mean? That's my thing.
Okay. So
And I guess I kind of look at it like the children of Israel. Like every time God redeems them, they fall right back in.
And so there's a price we pay, right? Moses tapped the stone how many times? There's a price we pay. And
right, you're supposed to do it once.
Yeah. So why do you keep tapping the stone twice?
I hate you, Sean.
See, that's when you know you're a good mentor. When you get people that just absolutely come straight out of their skin and go, you are the biggest jackhole I know.
Why do you keep tapping the stone?
God gave you abundance twice now, and you're like, okay, let me make it hard again. God's like, okay, your wish is my command.
Exactly.
Now, the reason that it got hard, my friend Ben, is because of you seeing yourself as the identity. Well, wealthy people are skinnier, or wealthy people are this, or I got this, or, you know, God gave you another blessing because you've doubled your income. You're having the 2 kids that I should have had extra. Right? Why do you think God gave you this blessing of you being a dad again, adding this another miracle in your life? Because you're a miracle creator. Change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change.
It's straight facts, and I know it's facts. And then, but then it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stop tapping the stone, trying to do it yourself.
Yep. You did it. The flow's going.
Let it flow.
Now get about the work. Get about planting.
Yeah. Right.
Stop going back going, is it still flowing? You'll know if it's not.
Yeah, that's good. That's freaking good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, There's your session 1. There's your introductory conversation on identity. Become aware. And in order for us to get to where we want to go, we got to know where you got to get to. Here's the neat thing about what's going to happen over the next 14 sessions is that every one of you have a different destination. What I'm about to teach you will work for everyone. And here's the part I want you to become wildly aware, is that if it works for everyone, you can now go teach this. Possibly not at the level that I'm experiencing it with you, but you can go become fully aware of why you have helped people stay stuck. It's because of the language and the skill sets that we use have caused them to stay stuck. We didn't teach them how to get out of their own way. So that's what this process is also going to do, is not only is it going to help you with your decision of self, it's going to help you become aware of how to put the responsibility back into others' hands, because leverage is what you're going to need. And you're going to need to learn how to move the masses. And you can't move the masses if you're tying everybody's shoes for them. Good morning, Ruth.
Good morning. Just wanted to confirm it's 14 days straight, including Saturday and Sunday.
No.
Oh.
It'll be Saturdays, not Sundays.
So Sunday off and then whatever. So that takes us to when? The 18th?
Probably.
Whatever. Okay. So so we start 14 days from now?
Right. And so now I'm heading off Friday, Saturday to my mastermind with Kyle Wilson. So it won't be Saturday because I want to make sure that I have the intensity for it. It'll be Friday. It'll probably be Friday morning, but it won't be Saturday for this Saturday. So
And no Sunday.
And no Sunday.
Okay. Okay. I will count the 14 days. Thank you.
All right. All right, everybody. There you go. There's day 1. Work on you. Take care of you. And Gary, thanks for being here. Good to see you. I hope you have an incredible day. Find yourself. Find some time for yourself. And I'm going to put this in the recording just for me. Some of you will find out what it means later on. Make sure you love the things that are around you. I know, Dubby. I know. Because sometimes they can go away. All right, everybody. I love you tons. I appreciate you so very, very much. I will see you where?
At the next event.
At the next event. Somebody give me some Costa Ricas.
Pura
Pura vida.
Pura vida. We love you, Mark. And some Lydias.
Peace be with us.
Peace be with us. And some queen of decision making, Jessie Lee Ward.
Bosley.
Bosley.
Bosley, we love you, girl. All right. We love you, Angel. All right. Bye for now. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.